Today you are going to start constructing the body and the head of your creature. So I want you to take a moment and look at your sketch. What we're going to do is break down our sketch into some basic parts. So I'm going to just kind of recreate what I have drawn here so I can show you what I mean. So the first part that we're going to look at is the shape of the body of our creature. Okay, so I'm going to include the neck in this just because my shape kind of flows into the neck. For some creatures like a giraffe, the neck might be separate. If I wanted to, I could say, okay, here I've got this oval shape right here. Okay, then I've got kind of a square rectangle shape here. I've got another oval shape here with like a square here for the snout. Okay, so I'm breaking it down into those basic shapes. I'm going to now construct this out of newspaper. As I begin, I set up the side of my table with my pieces of tape. So I tore my tape, it's off to the side of the table. To start for the body, you're going to take a full sheet of newspaper and crumple it up into a ball. Remember, there is a size limit box that you want to compare the body to as you are constructing to see how it fits. Mine seemed too small, so I decided to add another layer of newspaper. As I was forming my body, I wanted to keep in mind that I also wanted to add a little bit of a neck to the shape rather than just keeping it an oval shape. Now, if I feel like my form is too big, I can always take and tear off some of the newspaper to remove some of the volume. Once you're happy with the shape of the body, then you're going to take some of your tape and you're going to use this to help hold the newspaper in its form. You also can use the tape to help compress the newspaper. Remember, we don't want a lot of extra air within it or it'll collapse when we paper mache. We will use a lot of tape. However, we do not want to just sit and wrap the whole thing in tape. We just use the tape to hold it into the form that we want. You might have to take more tape and tear it into little pieces and attach it to the table at different points in the building process. Now I'm going to refine the shape of my form. I use pressure to narrow the neck and then tape to hold it in place. Same thing with the body. I want it to be a little bit smaller at the top, so I use more pressure and tape to hold it in place. As you're building your form, make sure to watch for any loose newspaper areas because that can cause problems when you go to paper mache. Secure those areas with tape. So if we look at my sketch, we can see, okay, it gets rounder here, it gets narrower to the neck. Next, I'm going to repeat this process to construct the head of my creature. This time I'm going to take half a sheet of newspaper and I'm going to crumple it up and press it into the form of the head. One of the things we are working with here is proportion. So we want to compare the size of the head to the size of the body and figure out, is that a good size for your creature? So for me, I think that's a pretty good size. It might even be a little bit too big. So like I said before, I could tear some off and again kind of press it down into the shape that I think I want it to be. Sometimes it's hard to keep the newspaper crumpled, so I'll take an extra layer of newspaper and wrap it around the head shape. Then I take my tape and start to use it to help form it. Now, as I'm forming, I want to think about which part of the head I want to be bigger and then where it needs to get flatter for the snout of the dragon. Again, I sculpt with pressure and tape in order to narrow and refine my shape. Feel like you've got any holes or gaps, you can always take some more newspaper. Like right here, I feel like I have kind of an indentation. So I can take a little bit of newspaper and use that to kind of pat it into the shape that I want. Once you have constructed the head of your creature, hold it up to the body and refer back to your sketch to see if the shape and size are correct. Now, if you need a longer neck, you can use a toilet paper tube in order to build one. I'm going to cut it just a little bit longer than what I think I want. Right now, this is a pretty big diameter. If I wanted to, I could take and trim a little bit of the tube and remove it to make it a little bit narrower if I wanted for the neck. Once you're happy with the diameter of the neck, you're going to cut little slits all the way around each end of the tube, and then you're going to fold them back. This creates what we call tabs, which allows for an easier connection because you can fold the tabs out and then you can press them down against the base of the sculpture, and then you can apply the tape over the top of the tabs to help hold them in place. Then I can do the same thing with the head, and now I have a neck that connects the two. You can see the style of neck when I was starting to build a horse form for my creature. When I go to attach the head to the body, I'm going to use some vertical pieces of tape. That means I am using pieces of tape that go from the head to the body, and I'm taping it on all of the sides of the sculpture. Once I have those pieces securing the head to the body, then I'm going to take a longer piece of tape and press down and wrap around my creature to form the neck. So I've got the start of my dragon head and my dragon body. And so this is where we want to get to for day 1.